It is draft week, baby. It is finally here. My goodness, the chatter, all that. It's going to intensify the next few days, but it is going to be very exciting. We're excited to have you with us. It is S&L, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. Hope you join us at the party this Saturday in the Biergarten at Karbach, 11 a.m. To react to the first 2 days and consume the third super stream, of course, going to go down on day 1 and 2 right here on the S&L channel. So we appreciate you for rolling through. DeMeco Ryans spoke today, as did the two faces of the franchise on the field, Stroud and Will Anderson. They had some interesting things to say about draft prospects. We'll get into that. But as we look at this, and it's a few sleeps away, how is this draft shaping up? You've taken a lot of information. You've had a lot of conversations, Cody. What is your vision right now for this draft?
Well, my vision is the same as what it's been for a few weeks. I believe they're taking an offensive lineman in the first round, and I believe the pecking order is pretty clear. If they were able to get one of these guys that could also play tackle, maybe play him at guard and then play him at tackle, they're going to do that. But if not, it feels to me like they're going to take one of those interior guys, call it a day after the first one, and then try to figure out all those other things they need to figure out, like wide receiver and running back and things like that on day 2 and beyond. I feel like the rest of the world is catching up to us, and what we've kind of been pondering for the past few months is why Kelvin Banks isn't going higher. This morning, just as the draftniks started dumping their notebooks, everyone was like, well, Kelvin Banks is going really high. He's going really high. He's going really high. And I feel like we've been saying that for, weeks now. Here's this Kelvin Banks is going really high.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting yesterday because I don't think I don't have the vision on the side of my eyes when we were talking about the best case scenario and we were talking about situations.
Oh, when you blindsided me when we were doing the show with at KHOU on yesterday.
No, I was asked of the guys being mentioned with the Texans.
Well, hold on, sir, contempt in the court, sir. How about we just show the people the evidence, and then they can make their own choice before you sit here and you defend yourself. This was Landry, Mr. I hate the offensive line, blindsiding me on KHOU.
You're a slime ball for this.
Blindsiding me. Watch this.
These are the names that are most often mentioned within mock drafts as the Texans' choice at number 25. So when you look at these names, which one are you most in favor of?
I am most in favor of Kelvin Banks, and I don't even know if it's a pipe dream at this point. And Cody's probably looking at me like, you're supposed to be the anti-O-line guy. Yes, I am. But you get cabin fever. You start to look at things a little bit closer. You start to hear, like, the teams that are visiting with him. And the offensive line, it bores me. I get it. It's been a problem. But I just don't see any scenario where Kelvin Banks falls to 25. It's being talked about a lot. But if he's there, I guess you got to take him. Quit looking at me that way.
Yeah, I can't imagine why I was looking at you that way after we've spent the better part of 4 months getting ready for this draft, and you're like, the O-line, it's terrible, don't like O-linemen, sucks, it's boring. And you're like, yeah, I'd take Kelvin Banks. And I'm like, who am I sitting here with?
Well, here's been the thing. And we've talked about Kelvin Banks, and I've said I don't understand why he's falling. I've maintained I don't understand why he's falling. So when we talk about guys there, I don't even really entertain the possibility because I just don't see any possibility of Kelvin Banks being there. But as it gets closer, as you start hearing all this stuff, the question that Bristol asked was of the guys being discussed. He didn't say who would you see the Texans taking. He said of the guys being discussed. And for whatever reason, despite what we've talked about with Kelvin Banks, for whatever reason, he's one of the top 3 guys discussed at 25, which is insane to me. And we talked about, like, if the media scouts are getting it wrong, that was the answer to the question. Like, if that discussion is real, then yes, you take a guy who I think you can make a case, and I think it's possible that if Kelvin Banks walks into the locker room tomorrow, if he walks into there tomorrow, I think there's a decent chance that he's your best tackle. And I think there's an incredible chance that he's already your best guard, like tomorrow. So he said of the guys being discussed. And for whatever reason, Kelvin Banks, I see him mocked to the Texans 60% of the time, and I see him falling.
So 25, Kelvin Banks is there. You're turning the card.
You have to. Like, it's
okay. Now,
like,
my follow-up question would be, we like him. Like, you and I both like Kelvin Banks. Do you stay flexible enough that maybe you trade up for him? Like what number, where does he get that you would be comfortable trading up for him?
I think maybe like you got to get in front of 20, like get in front of 20, like maybe around the Atlanta spot. I think maybe, I think you can maybe get there. I don't know that he gets to 15. Like I really like that's how crazy I think this is. Like I don't know that he gets to 15. I think he's the best tackle and I think he's the best guard. And maybe this is just like the light that I've been seeing, but it's like I don't know if people are just watching the Walker tape. Ewers did him no favors with the whole thing. Like, and I also think there might be an element of this with Banks that I think is kind of getting weird. I would bet you anything you want to bet. I'll bet you anything you want to bet that Kelvin Banks isn't there at 25. Like I'll give you 3 to 1, 4 to 1 odds.
I'd be throwing money away. That'd be a worthless bet for me to take.
Okay, but when you say guys who are lumped in, that's completely different. But I will give you right now, if you want to bet 25 to win 100, I will bet you that Kelvin Banks is not there at 25. But no, you wouldn't even make that bet, would you?
No, I wouldn't make that bet. You'd have to give me tremendous odds to make that bet. Like there's so many teams that could use him that you're going to have to get past. If he's there at 15, though, I'd have the conversation in the room if I was the Texans on trading up to go in and get him. Because if he gets to 16 or 17, I believe Kelvin Banks is going to be a member of the Arizona Cardinals, or I believe Kelvin Banks is going to be a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I could see him going. If you told me New Orleans was taking him at 9, I wouldn't be surprised. San Fran at 11, I wouldn't be surprised.
He's a perfect Trent Williams replacement. Like because
you can play him this year too, and they just lost their left guard in free agency.
There's 2 tackles that I've seen, and you know that I'm not really in the sticks that much, but there've been 2 tackles that I've seen coming out of college that run block like Kelvin Banks. And that's Trent Williams, and that's Zach Martin. When Zach Martin came out, like that's it. He's looking for fights when he run blocks. And I almost wonder if there's like an element where sometimes when you do something so good, people might kind of minimize what you also do very, very good. Because when he run blocks, he looks like a guard. Like he looks like a guard. He is running full speed. He is seeking out. He is headhunting. So I just wonder, like, if there's like some sort of element there. But the other thing is, like, if he's going to fall because teams don't think he's a tackle, then he's his positional value at 25. Let me ask you this. This is the other thing. And this, like, who do you think would be a better guard right now? Do you think it would be Booker or Banks? Like, if you said you have to draft Kelvin Banks, he can't play guard. He can't play tackle. Who do you think would be a better guard right now?
Right now, I'd tell you Booker because he's actually played the position.
I would say Banks ends up being a better guard, like immediately.
Well, that's not the question you asked. Ends up being better, I would say Banks. I feel like he has.
No, I think he could line up a guard right now, and by the time you're ready to play, I think he'd be better than Booker.
Okay. Well, right now, Booker. Long term, I'd take Banks. If he's only playing guard, I'd take Banks.
Speaking of Booker, I asked Will Anderson about Tyler Booker. We were at DeMeco's media availability. What is your ideal scenario? Let us know in the comments. We'll get to the super chats in a sec, but I asked Will about Tyler Booker. Tyler Booker was at Alabama with Will Anderson, and he has spoken very highly of him, said he kind of showed him what it took to be kind of a professional. Asked Will Anderson about that today. Here's what Will Anderson had to say about potential, probably more realistic at 25 than Banks, but potential Houston Texan Tyler Booker. Here's what Will had to say.
Tyler Booker mentioned you as like one of like his mentors.
Yeah.
What's your relationship like with him? And what's it kind of like being kind of like an OG to guys coming into the league now?
Yeah, I was telling my coach today, I was like, please don't let me be the youngest guy in the room for the 3rd year in a row, man. Tyler Booker, man, I speak very highly of him, man. Great character guy, but I think he has all the attributes you need to play the offensive line position. He's a mauler. He loves to finish blocks. His leadership skills, his mentality. He wants to be the best, and he's really hard on himself. And, you know, I'm kind of the same way. And that's what builds you up. That's what makes you know who you are. And he has all those things, man. And I can't say enough good things about him, man. And wherever he end up, he's going to change that team, change that program, and change the offensive line for sure.
All right, so there you go. So it's safe to say he's getting a strong endorsement by the face of DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio's culture.
And we
The
know
surprise of nobody.
Right. We know that their operation, the way that they operate as a franchise, they go and they ask the guys that are on their roster that have played with guys previously, they ask them about them, and they try to gather all the information that they can in those guys. And when you go in there, you already know what you know about Tyler Booker, and then you sit down with Will Anderson, he says all of that. It just you're not even checking another box. You're just retracing the check that you've already made with Tyler Booker from an off the field perspective, and then sort of what they want from an on the field perspective as well. I mean, transform the offensive line room. There's a few offensive line rooms that needed to get transformed at the end of last season. The Texans room was one of them.
Yep. Let's go to the super chat. Shout out to everyone for joining us on draft day. We hope to see you at Karbach, 11 a.m. in the Biergarten, and you better be here in the stream on day 1 and 2. HDAV Travelers first.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
He says, is this NFL draft week? LOL. You bet your ass it is, my friend.
Yep,
You bet your ass.
It's finally here. Like this morning with just sort of like Adam Schefter had a big notebook dump.
Breers is always good.
Breer had a notebook dump, and you got different guys releasing their big boards. The consensus big board came out this morning, and like Bruce Feldman, who covers college football, but then he talks to executives and front office people and coaches in the NFL. He put his notebook out this morning, and it's just like, it just felt like it was a sort of a renewed energy because it's a few days away. It is so close.
Next, Trill Kick says, what's up, guys? Great job on KHAU. CJ talked about lack of pre-snap teaching. Is that more of a Gerard thing or a Slowick thing? And I think he's referring to, I think Sarge asked him about it. I think that I think it was a system thing. I don't think it was, I think this system is more open to a lot of pre-snap stuff with a combination of the New England and LA. I don't think it was a knock on anyone.
Sam asked him about so the first question about Nick Caley, it was like, yeah, we've talked and we've
it was Sam Warren of the Chronicle.
And then Sam asked him again, like, well, I know it's preliminary, but what do you like so far? And basically CJ Stroud said, I run the offense now. Like, that's kind of like, I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said there wasn't a lot pre-snap in the previous 2 years that they worked on, and that's already changed. And the conversations he's had with Nick Caley, that's what they're going to build the offense on and work around. So it's going to be different than the past couple of years. And Stroud seemed pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and to be fair, I know that this is a very heavy,
Damn it, Bobby.
type of community, but I will say I don't think that's necessarily a Bobby Slowick thing. I think that's a system thing because that's kind of a big talking point in San Francisco too. With Purdy and some of the other going back to, I think, RG3, even
it's what LA used to be too. Remember the conversations about how McVay used to basically talk to Goff until the headset clicked off, and then it was up to Goff, and then obviously when they have a better quarterback, they have a guy like Stafford.
Yeah,
there's a lot more Matt Stafford at the line type stuff. And then Stroud also mentioned that it was closer to what he did at Ohio State and he was more comfortable doing. So look, if you're going to put more on the plate and he's going to be good at it, be my guest.
We don't know if he's going to be good at it though. Like, that's the thing. Like, there always tends to be a, like in San Francisco, I feel like Brock Purdy's done pretty good for being the last pick in the draft with this system. Like, I don't know that I would start crapping on the system when it comes to like the Brock Purdy POV. So we'll see what it looks like, but there definitely clear differences because what you mentioned, Stoots, is the system with Goff. I mentioned the system with RG3 and the system with Purdy. All that Caley knows in that system is the Stafford form. So that's all he knows. And then he knows the New England where
Tom Brady could do whatever the hell he wanted.
Taking the SATs before everything and like acing it.
Yeah.
For every snap.
And one more thing too, as well as pre-snap, and I knew he could do this. I had Texans Cat pull the numbers for me. I know it's going to be some pre-snap stuff with CJ. It's also going to be some motion that they're going to steal from what the Rams did too. And the Rams motioned probably twice as much as the Texans did at the snap And that's something that I think is going to be available too. So more CJ control and a different look. And we're already off and running on the new era under Nick Caley.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Mushroom 713 says Nick did say the scheme starts from the inside.
Yeah, inside out, how they like to build their offensive lines. So
Trill Kick X again. Cody hit him with a stone cold stunner. Hey, the Banks, if Banks is there, he got to do it.
If Banks is there, it's the most easy draft pick they've ever had to make.
It's a steal. It's a steal. HD AV Traveler says Booker or Banks, just saying LOL. Banks all day. I don't even think it's really close if you have to decide between those two. That might just be me though.
Oh, between those two, I'm taking. I mean, you guys know this. I'm a Banks guy. Like that'd be the. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm gonna do a little research, find out what a trade up to 15 costs. Like that's how. If he's there, 15. Go get
the chat. Actually, a 15. The Jimmy chart. I mean, that's you're probably talking. You're talking maybe a 2 and 3. Which you have the extra 3, perhaps.
I got a hunch Caserio's not a Jimmy chart guy.
Well, I don't think a lot of guys are Jimmy chart guys. Like it's not. It's clearly we clearly see examples of the Jimmy chart being used otherwise, whether it be above or below. So yeah, the Jimmy chart is. I don't even know like what the Jimmy chart would be, but the 10 spots. There's a lot of variables that come into it. I think one of the variables would be the fact that Atlanta is kind of probably pick hungry. And they're also going all defense in the draft according to their owners. So you got to factor in what the value is at 15 compared to 25. I almost feel like if you told me that the Texans need a defense, I would almost feel more comfortable at 25. Like it's just right. it feels like this would be the year to need defense instead of offense at 25.
I would tell you, okay, would you do this? I just did the quick dirty math here. Would you do one of the 2s next year and one of the 4s next year for the move up from 25 to 15?
So you have double picks and you're just creating you're basically creating a normal draft next year?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I would, because then the question would be, would you trade Laramie Tunsil for a guy that you think is going to be one of the best offensive linemen in this draft? And yeah, I would say yes. So I mean, that would basically be how you would look at it.
You get to keep your 2. You get to keep both the 3s this year, and then you lose your extras for next year.
Yeah, why not? Sure,
I would do that.
That's good. I don't know that they would want to do next year. They'd probably want something this year, but
yeah, they probably want a little bit
in that
more
scenario.
this year.
Sure.
That would value chart it. Just looking at the one that I like to look at.
Yeah, that would be like if you're talking about Banks. Yeah, for sure.
What about okay, just getting it a little bit more expensive. What about an 8? What about 89 and a 2 next year?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like him. I like him enough
you're
that
trading extra picks again. Like again, you're trading extra picks.
I like him enough.
This is where you kind of get the value of the Tunsil trade, like where maybe you have a little bit more. You got your buddy got drunk and went on a run and gave you 2 black chips and it's just letting you play. So all of a sudden you're
how come that never happens when I go to Vegas with you?
The tables make me nervous. I would rather piss away my money at the sports book, but
I was just quick sidebar. I was telling people of the wonderfulness of the downtown Grand over the weekend. We got some people that want to experience the downtown Grand.
The downtown Grand is just very convenient. And it's very spread out, and you just walk right across to Fremont. You got the pizza place right there. It's legit. I love the downtown Grand.
Yep.
It's legit. And now, if you're just a YOLO, like still kind of in that zone, you still got to go to the Strip. You still got to go to that northeast corner of the Strip and experience it. But yeah, downtown Grand don't threaten me with a good time now. Trill Kick X says, besides Banks, who else would you trade for? Nobody. Nobody.
Well, Tyler Warren.
Yeah, that's not happening. Like there's no scenario where I think Tyler Warren happens.
Yeah, Tyler Warren would probably be the only guy that I would do. I mean, would you? Okay, this is a loaded question here because we're deep enough in the draft process that everybody's just going for character assassination at this point on guys, or like assassination of a draft prospect. some of the things people have said about Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU, some of the things that people have said about him in the past week plus that I've read, and I'm not saying just like random Joe Schmoes, but like draft people who are like, yeah, this guy, what? I'm supposed to get excited because he was cool at LSU? Like, he's not as good as these other tackles. Well, if Campbell was down there, I'd probably take a swing at him too. But
I wonder what they think about him.
He's a minus 400 favorite to be the 4th overall pick. So I got a hunch that he's not getting past Vrabel, and that's what the wise guys think. But I also think New England, if they don't pick him, it could be a weird day for him.
Yeah. I don't know. Just Go Crazy on the chat says y'all don't like Golden. I don't love Golden. I like Texas. That's my squad. I think he's fine. I think that trading up for Matthew Golden to me seems ridiculous. It seems basically like if there's a shortage and you overpay for something that's not quality when there's not a shortage. I'm not a big Matthew Golden guy. I think he's fine. I think he'll be okay. I think you put him in the right situation, he's fine, but not overly like enthused by Matthew Golden.
If he was there at 25,
25, sure, but
and the linemen I liked were gone, I would turn the pick in and call it a day. But somebody it feels like is going to overdraft him.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. He's wide receiver 1 just based on dialogue, which is a dangerous place to be. Tet McMillan, you mentioned that character assassination. I thought this was interesting. And this is why we kind of harped on the Tet McMillan thing, because he said in his own words on his own production that, he didn't really like football that much, didn't like watching it. It was from his freshman year. Then you have the quote from Dane Brugler from the man himself saying, I needed to grow up. And the reason why that was so big locally is because you think, and I think, and we've said, the Texans care about guys who like football. Here is DeMeco Ryans talking about, and this was about like, and I thought Bristol did a good job of piggybacking off the swarm thing. This is about, can the swarm mentality be taught to someone who doesn't like it, whether it's a guy who's undeveloped on the field or off the field? Listen to what DeMeco Ryans said the most important objective is when he has conversations with prospects, and you tell me how much DeMeco Ryans cares about guys liking football.
Mentality that I'm looking for in guys when I meet them in person. I just want to get a feel for their love for football. And that's really what separates guys in my mind. And you can tell, asking the right questions, you can see how dedicated a guy is to really growing and being better, being coachable and wanting to grow. You see the film and how a guy finishes, what effort a guy puts in. What is a guy doing away from football, away from the set schedule? What is he doing to prepare himself on his own as a player? That speaks to me as far as a guy's mindset and his willingness to, to play with all-out effort, to play with that physicality that we like to see. So some guys definitely have it, and it can be enhanced in other guys. Just you have to get a sense of what guys have been taught as well from their college programs, and you see, how you can help guys get better in that regard.
Yes.
They're not drafting Tetaroa McMillan.
Yes.
If they have the opportunity to draft, they're not drafting him.
And if you had a bad year because maybe you weren't anxious to play Luther Burden, I see some Luther Burden stuff, then you're going to have to explain that. And this is interesting. And this is why we talk about this. It's not you, me. It's not what people say. We have conversations where we separate what we want versus what they'll do. But you and I, from like a nerdy, selfish standpoint, we obsess over football. We like football. We love football. I don't even hang out with people who don't like football. Like I'm not, it's not that cool. If my wife invites me to an event and it's a Sunday and they're not like, football's not part of like their radar or like on a Saturday, I really don't want to be around them. I might be able to make it work. I don't want to be around them. That's just me personally. DeMeco Ryans just said himself, when it comes to off field, when it comes to on field development, the most important thing, not did he do this like in his spare time? Did he do that? Do they love football? That's the foundation that he builds off of. We all have foundations that we build off of. That's DeMeco Ryans' foundation. So the Tet McMillan stuff, again, DeMeco acknowledged not finished products early on, but he also acknowledged his biggest deal breaker is, do you love football or not? Period. Point blank, end of story. So that,
and he also said, What do guys do away from the building to make themselves better? Well, I got to imagine some of them watch film. You know who doesn't? Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona. And to add even some more to this, Bruce Feldman talking to wide receiver coaches and executives and guys like this, he had this in The Athletic. McMillan seems more polarizing. Some of that is due to questions about his speed. I'm told he also didn't interview great with teams, though one of the coaches who said that thought that the 22-year-old probably didn't represent himself as well as he could have when he talked about football and his film study habits. That coach told Bruce Feldman that all he needs to say is, I love football. If you have to clarify it, you probably don't love it.
And you combine that with the stuff like on the tape and not being an ass kicker. And Steve Smith, he still put him at 2, but on his wide receivers, but he said, it doesn't look like he wants to. I mean, I guess you can summarize it. I want to fairly summarize what Steve said. Like there's not an ass kicker mentality. There's not a dog. I mean, that's basically what he said. You combine that with that, I think it's a thing.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, that coach talking about the interviews that Tetairoa McMillan didn't perform well in, that's from this year, in case anybody's trying to clip that and take us out of context.
You're an idiot. Other wide receiver. So we've talked about McMillan. I asked Will Anderson about his connection to Tyler Booker. I thought it was topical.
Glowing review.
Thought it was topical. I mean, it's a topical question that I think matters this week. It's topical. So it's only appropriate that the other guy who kind of resembles Swarm, that has a connection to one of the faces that spoke today, Emeka Egbuka, it's only appropriate if I ask CJ Stroud about Emeka. Here's what CJ Stroud had to say about another guy being talked about at 25, Emeka Egbuka.
We were very close at O State, and just time goes on, you stay connected, but it's just different, not being in the same building and stuff. But man, he can call me anytime. That's my brother for life, and I'm super proud of him, just the man he's become, the man of God first and foremost, and just that leadership that he's brought. I remember him being like this #1 recruiting receiver coming into our school, and and he came in with just wanting to work. And so I know that he'll do the same thing, coming to the league, and he's gonna have no problem adjusting. I think he's gonna be a long-time vet, just somebody who's gonna make a lot of plays, reliable, gonna block, gonna do everything that you ask him to do. But first, he's gonna be a leader, and I'm just excited to see, him work out. And
then he went in to talk about some of the other Ohio State players that I didn't.
Yeah. So here was my takeaway from that.
It's worth noting before you say that, Will Anderson said he spoke to Tyler Booker recently. Like he recently talked to Tyler Booker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
CJ didn't really sound that way.
Yeah. My takeaway from the CJ thing, and I don't know, like CJ sometimes gets like deep on and there's a lot of philosophy that you kind of if you nitpick it, you can kind of overdo it. I think there's some stuff that he's telling you more than he wants to, and there's some stuff where he's just not really in that setting. He's not really piggybacking on it. But I got a sense that him and Egbuka are close. Egbuka told me at the combine they were. But what I took away from it more so is I think it basically confirms any skepticism that there is about Emeka Egbuka perhaps being a guy that like elevates the wide receiver room as much as many people may want it elevated. And it kind of to me like symbolized it might not be.
He's not transforming the wide receiver room.
Yeah, because if you hear CJ talk about Garrett Wilson, or you hear him talk about Jackson, or you hear him talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. or Olave, like there's a different glow. Basically, when he described Egbuka, it sounded like, yeah, he could be a solid vet and he could be in the league. But when he talks about those other guys, and in fairness, those guys are, it's unfortunate in some ways that Egbuka gets compared to those guys, but that's kind of what we're comparing him to, especially when you're taking a first round guy. So I think it just kind of confirmed he doesn't think he's him, but he thinks he can be better than just a guy.
Yeah, he thinks he'd be good. He would. I would. If you ask CJ, hey, is Garrett Wilson good or great? He'd probably tell you Garrett Wilson's great. Same thing with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Same thing with Olave. And then I think he would tell you that Emeka Egbuka's good. Which that's the book on Emeka Egbuka. is he's not going to be great. And if he turns into a great player, you're getting more than what you signed up for. Like when you're drafting Emeka Egbuka, you're signing up for a solid, reliable, hopefully high-end number 2 guy. And if not, he's just your typical number 2. Like that's what you're signing up for when you draft him at 25. You get more, okay, it's great. You got more out of the pick than what you thought you were going to get.
Going back to the offensive line, CJ was asked about the changes on the offensive line. I think Bristol asked him this.
Ooh.
Here was what CJ had to say about the changes that were made in front of him.
I mean, that's something I feel, is not my pay grade. It's just I'm just a quarterback, but at the same time, it's you build relationships with guys, and your LT, of course, who I know you're talking about, and Shaq. Those are 2 of my best friends, so that I've come into the league with. So yeah, it hurts. You know what I mean? Our front office knows that, and they know how I felt about it, and but I totally understand, and I'm not against it at all. I totally think that we're heading to the right side of things. And I think something I learned about Nick is that he has a plan. No matter what happens, he always has something up his sleeve. So of course sometimes we don't know what that is, and but you just have to have trust, and that's something that we actually talked about today, having blind trust and having earned trust. And for Nick, I mean, he's gained my trust in both areas. So I'm excited, but I'm always going to be best friends with those guys and rooting them on, and I still talk to them daily. So
blind trust. He did get, he was not believable in saying, "Oh yeah, no, I'm on board with it. No, I like what we did." Like he wasn't very believable there, and then he just got like a little smile on his face where he said, "Nick's got a plan," and I was just like, "All right, well, is it?" Because if your franchise quarterback wasn't on board with you trading his friend, cutting his other friend, but you had to kind of sell him on the vision. Like you'd maybe let him in a little bit more than some of the other guys. Like, oh, don't worry, we're going to get you some offensive linemen. Like I wonder if Caserio's got something like that. He's basically told CJ, like, this is going to happen. We're going to get this, and that's been enough for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I don't really know. I didn't really read too much into it. I just know he's close with them, and it didn't seem like he was too. I didn't read a ton into what he had to say. By the way, we're gonna hear from.
Here's what I would say. There shouldn't be any earned trust for what Nick Caserio has done with the offensive line.
No, there shouldn't be. Blind trust should not exist with that. We're going to hear from Cam Robinson tomorrow. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Cam Robinson and Mr. Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk, can you save me? Captain Kirk, I want to have your baby.
Christian Kirk, we're going to hear from him finally. How about that? It's only been a couple months.
That'd be nice. I mean, no CJ Gardner-Johnson, huh?
No CJ Gardner-Johnson, although Will Anderson had some fantastic things to say about his energy and how competitive he is during drills.
Yeah, running sprints. He was already talking trash to his teammates.
Little Jalen Petrie action too. So you get some Petrie tomorrow. So we'll get to hear our first public words from Captain Kirk and Cam Robinson and Jalen Petrie. So that's what we got tomorrow. The media availability out there at NRG. Look forward to it. So the draft, really, any other takeaways on the draft or what CJ and Will said? I didn't. Outside of that, I thought it was just basically what we expect from CJ and Will. CJ did seem to. He kind of mentioned in passing that he had a little bit more free time this offseason, which I think was probably a goal.
Built-in, designed.
Yeah, it designed or not, but it existed. So he did kind of mention that in passing. Didn't really notice anything else that really stuck out with.
I mean, the comment about Nick Caley and some of the stuff they're going to give CJ Stroud, like that's the start of that story of where it's different, where Nick Caley's offense is different from Bobby Slowick. So they've had one day in the building with the guys. So it's not like everybody knows what's going on here yet. But that's where we kind of start the story and what we look for and what Stroud will get asked about and what we'll ask Nick Caley about when he gets to talk again about this offense and how they're going to put together. I kind of got a no answer from DeMeco on the how does Nick Caley affect the draft? He's like, we're just going to draft good
We
offensive
were good players, but then he elaborated. He likes to be. He was just kind of Evan on the chat says, I think we're better off with Emeka Egbuka instead of Golden. I don't know. I mean, I think if you're, I'm like, you'd probably say you'd rather have Golden. If you're talking about like where they're projected, which is always a word that you want to emphasize, where they're projected to go, then maybe you can make that case. But yeah, I don't know. Evan says,
I'd rather have Egbuka for the record.
Evan also says, okay, that's a hot take. Not that hot, like not crazy.
I just believe he's going to be a more solid and reliable number 2 than Golden is.
Evan says, Landry, I think you like tennis more than football. I don't even like tennis. Be honest, play it a little bit, just for fun a long time ago, but no.
I like you had a 10-minute tennis conversation yesterday with Jason before,
which is hilarious. I don't know if Evan's like the feds or what and had me wiretapped or what. Like the only time I've talked extensively about tennis in the last 15 years was literally yesterday when we were in the studio, and I'm like, Evan, what are you doing, sir? Like, is that
maybe it's actually Jason Bristol?
You got me tapped or what? Speaking of that, Marky Mark says saw Cody on the news in the cream color blazer. Wasn't it Cody go with black or blue? Didn't you say go with black or blue?
He said the cream colored blazer wasn't it, Cody. Go with black or blue.
Oh, wow. Shots fired.
I wore a gray blazer.
Ooh.
It's not cream colored. I don't know, like what.
Ooh.
Like we can pull the video up.
Ooh.
It's gray.
No Style Johnson on the track.
Well, if you're looking to me for style, you're looking in the wrong spots. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the hell I'm doing when I dress myself.
Wow, Cody. Mark, thanks. Look out for him, man. It was a rough look by Cody yesterday.
Oh, fuck you.
That was rough, man.
No, it wasn't. I had the gray blazer with the black pants, and I had the Easter color shirt on for Easter. Go screw yourself.
Who, me or him?
Both of y'all.
H-Town Sports 96 says, what about Landry's twin, Jack Besh from TCU early third round? Now, I am going to hit this right off the top, and I'm already sensing you're going to get cosign on this. Race car! But I don't know. Do I look like Jack Besh? This is a strong accusation. Let me just check here. Let's see. I mean, do I?
Man, take your hat off. It's closer than when somebody tried to drop Jared Goff on you.
I mean, I'm not even going to front. Like, if you look at that, yeah, it's closer. It's closer than I thought. Like, I've heard a lot of accusations, but
it's closer than any of the other accusations of who you look like.
Speaking of which, I actually got an accusation as we went to the air, and this one's about you, buddy. So I think that was a good one. So my buddy texted me, and he saw our picture from yesterday.
Yeah.
And he saw you, and he said, I've always wondered what I would look like if I had a mustache. And I think he was referring to you. And that is my boy, Ken Carman from Cleveland. Right here. Ken Carman said, I've always wondered what I would look like if I had a mustache. And he was talking about you. TV guy and the top radio guy. I actually was on I worked on Ken's show for 7 months when it first started. Good buddy of mine, one of the faces of Cleveland media, but he said he was always wondering what it would look like. I feel like he might pull it off. I feel like he might be able to pull it off.
He should give it a go. He should give it a go.
Not everyone can pull it.
Maybe he should grow a mustache till they get a real quarterback up there in Cleveland.
Yeah. You don't have to tell him that. HDAV Traveler back on the super chats.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Cody, you look stylish on TV. LOL. So there
Thank
you go.
you. Thank
There
you.
you go. You look stylish.
I'm out. I don't have any other stuff that looks good, so I'll probably look like I'm homeless on Sunday when they.
Now he
have
said
back to talk about
ish.
the
He
draft.
did say ish. He didn't say you had style. He said ish. That's kind of like.
Well, it's
ish.
not
Like,
no, stylish.
No.
Stylish is a whole.
No, you got to look past it because ish is kind of like
No,
if you're
ish
not
is what
really
you're
hungry,
thinking
if
right
you're
now.
not really hungry, you say hungry-ish.
Yeah, but that's a word that you're adding the ish to. Stylish is its own word.
Style-ish. Well, he had a space in there. Style-ish.
Stylish, fashionably, elegant, and sophisticated.
But that's not how he spelled it. He had the ish. He had the ish separated. It
No, he
wasn't all
didn't.
together. Oh, damn it. He should have. He should have.
You got so much to say about my wardrobe. Why don't you dress me? Why don't you come over here, get in the closet, and you figure out what I should wear? We're going back on KHOU on Sunday.
I didn't say anything about your style. Someone else brought that up, sir. And I'll let you be the only one in the closet. I don't need to go in the closet with you. I'm right here outside
Where
of
do
the
you
closet.
keep your clothes? Are they just laying on the ground?
No, I'm just saying if you want to be in the closet, you can be in the closet by yourself.
Well, I have to go into the closet, get the clothes.
Okay.
Where do you keep your clothes? They're just laying around?
No. Hey,
Yeah. What do you put your clothes in the closet?
you can have the closet to yourself.
Nice try, pal. It's not working.
You can have the closet.
Nice try,
to
pal.
yourself.
It's not
No,
working.
The closet's all you, man.
Yeah, nice try. It's not working.
So someone brought this up, and I do think this is kind of this had to have been weird. It was weird for us there. And we'll explain an awkward moment with Will Anderson because he kind of had a weird situation, and I actually got texted about this from one of my former colleagues, just asking like, "Wait, hey, what was that?" And right. Appropriately, people in the chat asked about it, but there was a funny moment with DeMeco Ryans as well. He was called Nick. How about that? We speak. This is Daryl Morey type of stuff right here. Daryl Morey does not allow comparisons of the same race. He prefers a little cross racial action. I don't think DeMeco Ryans has ever been mistaken for Nick Caserio until today.
I'm not Nick.
I know people say we do look alike. So I get it.
So he was having some fun with that. He got called Nick by our boy Cole Thompson. There was also kind of an awkward moment, and this is probably the fourth person who's asked me about it. I Must Pandaline asked as well, so she knows. Yeah, I Must Pandaline's the feds. I talked about the feds with like knowing like I had a tennis cover. I Must Pandaline is a fed, and she's also high right now on that OKC win yesterday. That was an assing.
Yep.
She says, yeah, I was confused on what happened when they asked about EJ Speed, which is exactly what Eric asked. Well, did you guys pay attention that Will didn't want to talk about EJ Speed? So when it first happened, I thought maybe he dropped his phone or something like that. I don't think he's very familiar with his game, and I don't think he anticipated having anything to say about EJ Speed during a press conference about the draft. So that was really what that is. I don't think he was expecting to be asked about EJ Speed, and I don't think he's very familiar with his game, to be honest with you. So it wasn't anything awkward. It came across as very awkward.
Well, let's let the people decide for themselves here.
Yeah.
Aaron Wilson jumps in there. Hey, Will.
Yeah. So I don't think he was anticipating the EJ Speed, and there was no audio there. I think you can just kind of see the face. Okay. But yeah, he was asked about EJ Speed. I don't think he was really familiar with them, and I don't think Will Anderson's like the best BSer. So he was he was a little bit behind. But I only answer that because it's like 6 people asking, and it's like,
All right, well,
wait,
we'll
does
get
he
to-
hate EJ Speed?
No, he's probably news to him that EJ Speed's on the team.
He was like, wait, EJ Speed? EJ Speed, they asked DeMeco about EJ Speed too. And he was kind of
Hey,
like,
it wasn't a they. It's
Cole.
the same guy that
Cole.
called him Nick Caserio, and the same guy that asked Will about it too.
Yeah. Yes, about EJ Speed. So, yeah, there's no like beef with Will. I just don't think he was really too familiar with his game and didn't want to give like a bad scouting report. So, yeah, that's where that was. Not too much to read into that, other than the fact that, not too crazy.
Right, hold on. The people deserve the full audio version, so I'm getting.
Yeah, they deserve it. So Cody's going to give it the second time around. So look at this, Cody making up for his mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
He's being forgiven. He's being forgiven for his sins of the past.
Cody screwed it up.
One day after Easter, Cody is being forgiven for his sins. Go ahead. Let's get the EJ Speed confusion live here on S&L. Cody Stoots. I think he's ready this time.
Yeah, he brings, like you said, everything.
Just moving on.
Yeah,
He didn't want to say who is that. He's like EJ Speed.
So yeah, good player.
Well, the other confusing part was it was about the secondary. Like, so they were talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and the question was, and I was kind of confused by it too. And I think Will was just confused because it was like, so he's talking about the secondary CJ Gardner-Johnson, and the question is prefaced as, yeah, speaking of that second layer and that line of defense, what about EJ Speed? And I think Will was still in secondary mode because it was piggybacked off of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So he was a little bit confused on the EJ Speed thing. So yeah, there's nothing to be there, but it was weird.
Who is he? Who is he? He's looking at PR.
He was looking at PR like, don't know who that is. So yeah, that's all that was. The EJ Speed thing. So
there you go.
Yeah. There you go. But it is draft time. The Ibuka and the Booker thing. We got both of their comments on that. DeMeco really he's not going to tip his hand as to what he's going to do. Caserio, not really.
He just all DeMeco did was reinforce that they got to be swarmed to be on the Texans, basically.
DeMeco's very, very happy to seems a little bit more relaxed right now. Just a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Not a ton, just a little bit.
You don't have to worry about the O-line getting the quarterback killed on Sundays just yet.
Just yet? Yeah, it's a tough one. With the Banks thing too, I don't see that happening. I guess Aaron Wilson said that he was at Banks's workout or something. Banks, I guess Kelvin, he's been at everyone's workout.
I must have missed it between the transaction wire.
Yeah, he was at Banks' workout. I saw he talked to Jaden Blue. But yeah, I guess Banks was working out in town. Said it. Aaron told me he's in good shape. So,
well, that's good.
Confirmation.
It's good.
He's good to go, bro.
Didn't know that you needed Aaron to confirm that for you, but
well, let me know. I appreciate the heads up on that. Isaiah Bond still gets a lot of questions on here. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I know it's
Isaiah Bond had a bad rep before he had to turn himself in for a sexual assault accusation.
Alleged sexual assault accusation, but yeah, I guess accusation is alleged. So
yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for rubber stamping what I said. Appreciate you.
And I know you know this with some of the girls you go out with. Sometimes you need 2 rubbers. So I'm just helping you out, brother.
That's counterproductive. It creates friction and gives you more likely of a scenario of the condoms not working.
Patrick keeps bringing up teachers and Burnett's. Do you want to elaborate on your teachers and Burnett's thing?
When people bring up that Nick Caserio, like, oh, he's failed on offensive linemen, the offensive lineman he's drafted, he hasn't done a good job drafting them. And I always say, yeah, but that doesn't mean he should stop trying. Like he should keep going. It's like if a brunette breaks your heart, you don't just all of a sudden stop dating brunettes. if one comes along that you like, you still go on the date with them, even though they were a brunette.
So this is O-line thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure. Because after the Baskin Robbins, I just need some elaboration on that.
Sometimes I just want to choke you to death.
That's really dump that. That's really harsh. I just trying to get some elaboration on the analogies, my friend.
Yeah.
Nothing
How
wrong
about,
with that.
do you want to grade this one since you graded the Baskin Robbins one? Go ahead, give me a grade.
No, that's fine. It's good. I like it. Chicks, heartbreak. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Nicely done. Anything else you'd like to add from today's media availability?
No, I'm good.
There was another thing from a pretty credible reporter, Adam Schefter. I would say he's credible. He said that two teams to look at as potentially being active are Philadelphia Eagles, which we always anticipate that, and the Houston Texans. Now, this was not a report. I think a lot of times we always like to emphasize there's a fine difference between a report and an opinion. I always felt bad for McClain when he would come on the show and I would put him on the hot seat and he'd say his opinion. Then all of a sudden it's a report. But this is Adam Schefter's opinion. And with that said, a lot of times these opinions are educated. Adam Schefter seems to have a pretty decent grasp of the Texans. I wonder what Adam Schefter is hearing and why exactly he would think that. Now, maybe it's just because of the Texans' activity in recent history, but he did throw that out there.
Yeah, he basically laid it out and he said Nick Caserio's made 22 trades right before or during the draft. And with that history and the picks that they have, they're a team to watch to move around, and the Eagles have a lot of extra draft capital if they want to move around. He mentioned activity really with the Texans, just they move around. He mentioned specifically moving up for Philadelphia.
Yeah, moving up is what we would think with the Eagles because they're kind of on the back end of the first round. The question is what? Here's the nightmare for me. And I'll be honest, my question to DeMeco Ryans, and I'll get into this on the night stream. Coming up at 6, I think there's a trade the Texans need to consider. So go on the Locker Room channel, 6 o'clock, 5 reasons they should consider this trade with present, past, and future reasons why. So be on the lookout for that. But I'll get more into the DeMeco. But the question that I asked DeMeco about finished products, I'll just be honest, spoiler alert, it was a Walter Nolan motivated question because I don't, just like Banks, Walter Nolan falling to the Texans at 25 seems crazy. But the thing that would really, really, really intensify feelings is if the Eagles go up and get Walter Nolan. Like if the Eagles go up and get Walter Nolan after getting Jalen Carter, after getting Jordan Davis, after doing everything they've done, first of all, they have the benefit of the doubt where we assume, even though they make some mistakes, they did draft Jalen Reagor over Jefferson, where we do assume that everything they do is awesome. But if they go up there and get a top 5 talent in this draft to put with Jalen Carter, we saw how much they just physically dominated everyone on the back end. I know everybody focuses on Kansas City. They beat everyone's ass on the back end. That is a scary thought. And that was really what I was getting to with DeMeco Ryans about Walter Nolan. And I didn't really specifically mention his name, but that was who I was thinking about when I asked the question.
If Walter Nolan ends up at 24, congrats to the Minnesota Vikings on getting a trade done with the Philadelphia Eagles for Walter Nolan. Like,
yeah,
that's about it feels as no brainer as it's going to get because the Eagles, I think their draft capital this year is pretty normal, but they got some extra stuff next year too.
The other one is if Kelvin Banks gets to 24, then Chiefs too. Like that's
Kelvin Banks gets to 24. The Texans have to make the move for the one spot. They've got to do that.
Yeah. Even if it's a third, you got to even if it's the extra third, you can just charge it to the game and just say, okay. And then Minnesota can continue their trades. Like they can continue to have the leverage of trading back, but here's a third to stockpile our extra third. We'll take Kelvin Banks. Thank you very much. And then they can make whatever the Chiefs want, unless the Chiefs wanted Banks and they were going to offer a ton more. But you got to think that Kansas City would be thinking about Banks. That's why, really, if you can just get away from Minnesota, you'd probably be a little bit more comfortable because they're looking to trade. So that's kind of the no man's land that you're in behind Minnesota, which is the worst team to be drafting behind if you're Houston. But it's reality.
Yep. I mean, if Banks starts slipping, don't even let him get to 24. Just go get him before he gets there.
Yeah, if there is a slip. I mean, would it be the most shocking thing to you if New England drafted Banks? Like, would it be like, oh, or would it? Because
at 4, it would be shocking, but if they moved back, then that's their guy.
Well, I guess it would be shocking, but I mean, maybe what if they just don't want to F with it and they just like what he brings because
Vrabel could do that, certainly.
Yeah, and I think the trade back would maybe be the Raiders, so the Raiders could hop the Jags because Genty to the Jags is picking up steam.
Mm-hmm.
I think the odds have actually dropped. I got it at 8-1 that Genty's the number 5 overall pick. Now there's rumors and stuff, but maybe Vrabel trades with the Raiders and then goes back to 6 and still gets Banks. But to me, like if Banks goes 6, while it would be shocking based on dialogue and what media scouts are saying, and that's the term that we use to describe ourselves and everyone else that's in charge of this rapid dialogue leading up to. But if it did happen, like it would make more sense than him falling to the Texans at 25. Like Banks going in the top 10 for me would make more sense. Not saying that happens, but just from my perspective, it would make more sense than him falling to 25 with the Texans. Like someone falling in love with Banks more than Campbell, that's not the craziest thing that I've heard.
Yes, I'm with you. I understand. It would be the shocking part would be the lower he goes, not the higher he goes.
Yeah, and a lot of times you get like a more clear picture when it actually happens. So something to keep an eye on for sure, the Banks thing. And then the Texans are really at the mercy. Like I didn't even make much of it when Caserio said that they have a smaller board this year, because I just took it as that they know that they're not getting top 15 guys, like for the most part. Like this isn't 2 years ago where you have 2 picks in the top 12 and you're probably scouting everyone. On the day one board can kind of get sawed in half. Like you're not, and I don't think they're aggressively trying to get those guys. I wanted to ask.
They always, they have a small board every year though. So like,
right.
I mean, they have, and just because they have a small board doesn't mean guys aren't available on their board. It's like they're going to run out of guys to draft.
Yeah.
I think it's the 5th round. Like, well, all the guys we thought were draftable are gone. What do we do? That's not going to happen.
The thing that I wanted to ask DeMeco today, but he was asked about EJ Speed and being stressed out and all this, a lot of other stuff. Like I just thought it might be like, I want to know the difference between preparing for round 1 versus preparing for day 1 versus preparing for day 2, where you've been studying for this test for months. Like I would imagine that the Texans, if they had to, they could have done the draft 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, maybe even before that, if they had to do it. Like they've been preparing for this for a long time. It's almost like over analysis. So you're prepared for what's going to happen on day 1, even though there can be certain surprises. But on day 2, there's probably a little bit more shuffling. Like it's not like day 1 finishes and all of a sudden they go, all right, see y'all tomorrow. I'm sure they have like some morning meetings, but there's got to be like some conversations that warrant more attention. Like if this guy falls, or where you're at and what you got based on that. And this team drafted that, so they're in front of us, so we know they're not going to do this. Like right now, you're probably like trying to predict. Like it's easy for them with Minnesota. Okay, they're going to trade back, we think, because they don't have a lot of picks. But like if you're traditionally drafting like behind a team, and let's say they need wide receiver, running back, corner. Like you have a grasp. But in the second round or the third round, if they take a wide receiver in the first round, you're probably like, all right, we can cross this off. They're not going to take this.
It's another test, but you have more. You have some of the answers already.
Yes.
Yeah, you have some of the answers to the test already.
Yes. Yes. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to.
It is interesting that they felt like they had a pretty high grade on Kamari Lassiter, but they were also content to just stick at that spot as cornerbacks started to come off the board too. So
high grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
Do you think that we don't even have to play the game, but it kind of, I don't want to say they settled for him, but they really didn't have a choice.
Sure, he was at the back end of that group of corners because Quinyon Mitchell had already gone, Terrion Arnold already gone, Cooper DeJean had already gone,
Kool-Aid
McKinstry had already gone.
Yeah, I think you've done the best job of, and I've kind of piggybacked it. I don't think it's a complete pick six, but I think it's eye-opening. And a pick six is when you take someone else's opinion and present it as your own. I consider us a team though, so I think we can piggyback off each other.
Wiggins from the Ravens as well gone.
But I think you did a really excellent job of laying out the difference in the day two picks and the second rounders. In that Lassiter, you basically were the back end of the corner run, and with Fisher, you basically started the tackle run. So it ended up as well as it possibly could with Lassiter, and maybe in this alternate universe that we'll never know, they were protected from themselves because I think they feel good about Lassiter. I think in a redraft, Lassiter is probably a first round pick. I think a lot of those corners are probably first round picks. But the Blake Fisher thing is going to be judged much differently because there's a bunch of tackles that went after him, and it wasn't necessarily like an immediate need, and you made that pick. So I think there is some sort of
well, they picked the guy. They picked the guy who had, in a lot of people's minds, higher upside at the tackle spot and less pro ready. The Ravens picked a pro ready guy out of Washington, and sure enough, he ended up being their starting right tackle for most of the season. And when he played, he was better than Fisher. But Fisher's was a potential pick. He had higher potential than the Ravens guy.
Yep. So we'll see where they go. Other thing, by the way, Titus Howard looks like he's in shape. They put out the video. Titus Howard looks like he's kind of trimmed up a little bit. Something that I did notice from the Texans' Instagram.
He looks stronger, but not like small. Like he looks like he's redistributed muscle. And he looks like he's like buff, but not like strongest man buff where they got like a big belly. He looks buff like a power lifter buff.
Yeah, he looks like he's been working out. He looks like he's been working out. Well, I don't think he's playing his way into shape. I think he came in shape.
Which when your job's on the line, you better be ready to go.
Yep.
You better be ready to go.
Yep. So there you go. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, whether Cody's styling or not, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. I guess if you are Landry, you always dress good. Can't wait till we talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.
It's a lie.